Hey there, this is Ryan and Victoria Cole here. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
We are in a new series for this month of February on spicy sex, bringing the heat back into your marriage. So if you're married, this is an excellent conversation for you. We're going to be doing a spicy challenge coming up soon to really encourage you to cultivate intimacy in the bedroom. But we are also going to be doing some great things for single people. In the summer, we're going to be doing some events, hopefully in a city near you. So if you're single, I think this conversation is still relevant. Today is not going to be incredibly graphic. We will be a little bit more graphic in the episodes to come, but it's going to be a bit of an overview because we're talking about God's design for sex, right?
Yes, we're so excited that you guys joined us today. Valentine's is really special for us because it kind of began the journey of our relationship. We were friends for about a year before. He actually asked me out the year before, and I turned him down because I thought I was going to marry within my culture. For those of you who do not know, I'm actually Ukrainian. And then we were friends for a whole year, and anytime that we got together, as single people do, we had worship nights and discussions, and we always kind of ended up on the same page. And the next year, when February came around, he asked my brother if it would be a good idea to send some flowers, and he did not spare any expense. He bought like this humongous crystal vase, which we have to this day, and it was a large bouquet of red roses, and he wrote a note, and I still have the note. It says, "To a beautiful, virtuous, intelligent woman, love, Ryan." And in my culture, like when a person says love, it's a big deal. So that really opened up my heart, and that really started our relationship. And I kind of feel like from the get-go, God really kind of blessed our relationship. And because we were really single people devoted to God and serving God, we kind of stumbled across this. And God has really given us wisdom through our years of relationship and ministering to couples and marrying a lot of couples and troubleshooting with couples that have experienced infidelity and issues. So we're so glad that you're entrusting us to give you guys wisdom that we learned, but also wisdom that we learned from our mentors. We have our mentors are in their 70s, and they're incredible, and they're raising an incredible family. So we are constantly learning. We know that a relationship is a constant journey of intentional pursuit. It's not something that, wow, I got married, I got butterflies, and it's going to continue on forever and lifetime. Forever and ever and ever. And we know that's not true. It has to be an intentional pursuit. So we're here to encourage you, to empower you, and to push you forward because marriage is beautiful and marriage is a blessing.
And that is the center of our ministry. Our ministry does three things. It inspires people, of course, but it helps them to discover their purpose. Each one of us has a God-designed purpose. And in discovering that purpose, you're empowered to date well and build a lasting, successful marriage. And so if you want to give to this ministry, you can go to ryancoleempowerment.com. We are a nonprofit, and our goal is to get the culture of the kingdom into families and homes everywhere so that every individual can walk out their purpose and know the extravagant love of God and experience the beautiful gift of marriage. So give to this ministry if you haven't already. One of the reasons why we don't do sponsorships on our podcast is because we just don't want to create clutter. There may be some things that we bring to you guys that are relevant to our ministry, some partnerships with resources for you as couples, whether that be date nights or things to spice up your marriage. But we don't do those ads because we want this to be a clean listening experience. We want this to be viewer supported and funded. And so please give to this ministry. Needed Conversations is in its 4th season, and we're having an amazing time doing it. And as you can notice, if you're watching this video, we're in a new location. Our family has been through a big transition over the last year, stepping into full-time ministry, and we're just following the leadership of the Holy Spirit as He is telling us each step we're taking it. And one of those steps a few months ago was to sell our house. We live in Greenville, South Carolina, but we lived more on the outskirts in Simpsonville. And God really drew us to the heart of downtown Greenville, where we're going to be hosting marriage events, workshops, premarital workshops, and also some singles events. Maybe some speed dating stuff. We're going to be doing some qualifiers to get into that. So those events are coming up starting in March, and it's going to carry us through the summer. And our goal is to have an in-person marriage retreat in the fall. But we're doing that by faith because we need the resources to help underwrite it. So if you're interested in that, reach out to us. We always have our phone number in the description and on our social media at More Most Forever. You can text us anytime, your dating questions, your marriage challenges, and we will respond. It's very discreet because Victoria and I are the only ones who read those messages. That phone number comes directly to us, and we pray over your situation, and we ask God to give us wisdom to help guide you in dating well and having a wonderful, fulfilling relationship. I know that was a lot at the intro, but we're excited because we've moved to the heart of downtown Greenville. We're in a loft, and that's where we've decided to bring our family for the next year and a half or so. And we're going to be doing some other investing in real estate. And God really blessed us. We've bought and sold 3 houses. And every time we bought, it was in a buyer's market. And every time we sold, it was in a seller's market. And that's always been our prayer when it comes to building wealth as a couple also. And so we definitely made a great harvest on our home. And we're going to be doing some reinvesting. We will eventually get another home. But this is where God has planted us, right in the heart of downtown Greenville. So we've got several events coming up, especially if you are in the upstate of South Carolina or if you are in Atlanta, Georgia. We're going to be doing events in both places. As some of you know, we lived in Atlanta for 3 years.
Yes.
Yeah. So coming up in March, what do we have coming to Atlanta and Greenville?
So we are having a marriage revival. So in Atlanta, Georgia, we are going to have 2 Friday evening. We're doing a service for the couples, and all you have to do is you can just show up. It's actually free, but for the morning session the next following day, you want to register. So we have all of that listed on our website. If you wanted to click on the website, you can go and see all the details if you are local in Atlanta.
Yeah, and we're also bringing it to Greenville the week after. So we're doing it 2 weekends in March, one in Atlanta, one in Greenville. And you can find out all the details at marriagerevivaltour.com, marriagerevivaltour.com. So you'll get the dates where you can sign up. Like she said, the evening sessions are free. And then in March and in April, we're hosting premarital workshops in group settings. God directed us to go to wedding festivals here in the upstate of South Carolina. And so we set up a booth over the last couple of weekends. Yes, while we were packing and getting ready to move, we've been in here, just a few days. But we were able to present before 500 plus brides and their families and entourages, as they call them in the wedding world. And we were able to give out information and talk to them about building healthy marriages. And so be in prayer for us, because that's an outreach opportunity. But those people and anyone who is listening to us right now who may be getting married in the next year or so, we would love for you and your fiance to come to one of those premarital workshops in downtown Greenville. That's all on our website as well, moremostforever.com. I know we're giving you a lot of stuff today, but we've had a lot going on in our lives the last 3 weeks. And so we want to jump into a conversation today, as this month we're talking about spicy sex. And here's some additional exciting news. We have got the physical copy of our book, Spicy Sex. We've been selling the ebook, And so here's what I want to do today. If you go to moremostforever.com and you get a physical copy of the book this week, I will send you a copy of the ebook as well so that you can start reading it right away. I know today's Valentine's Day, so you can open up a few chapters. One couple reached out to us and said within the first 20 minutes of so or reading this book, that it already changed a lot. And in particular, the woman was saying that it really helped, because that's the challenge when it comes to sex for a lot of couples is the female experiencing in as much pleasure as the man. So sex is not just for men, sex is for men and women. And we have written this book as a guidebook to help you Christian married couples discover God's design for sex. Yes, he designed it, and he designed it to be good. But all of the different facets of sex that he designed, not just the pleasure, but also the intimacy, the comfort, the supernatural elements to sex. This is what this book is about. Honey, you want to tell them a little bit more about the acronym?
Yeah, so we kind of broke down the word spicy. And so S is for satisfaction. P has three. Procreation, prophetic activation, and partnership. So that makes it sound so, I know it sounds so spiritual, but it makes, it puts weight to what God said about this specific act, that it's not just the physical act. I is for intimacy, and we know that intimacy is not necessarily just the act of sex, but we know intimacy is information, so we want to dive deeper into discovering a person, and that's why we're here to help you guys navigate this, to be intentional in pursuing one another so you can experience that intimacy, because it actually starts outside of your bedroom. And then C is for comfort, and a lot of people don't really think that you experience comfort in sex, but you really do. There's times when men are grieving, and women think that it's odd when men want sex during grieving times, whether they lost or transitional times. But there's comfort in sex, and so there's just so much more to sex than just the actual physical act and just feeling good and feeling satisfied. And then Y is for yielding and yearning, and it's that full circle of coming back and kind of, loving one another and pursuing one another, and then having that yearn for one another. You know, like when you say to somebody, a friend, and you say, I just feel so kind of distant from my spouse, or I feel so disconnected. And it's because that you don't have that intentional pursuit. There's like, you're right. There is this disconnect, but understanding the full aspect of this act in the marriage, in the covenant of marriage, will help you to have this full circle of continuing to yearn for one another and yield to one another and submit to one another. That it's not just like, the men dominating over a wife and it's just for a man thing, but it's also for a female to experience. So we want to give you guys this knowledge. And you know what it is? It's a mediation book, because sex conversations can be very awkward, especially in a relationship. People can be very sensitive when you bring up specific things, and you have to kind of like tiptoe around it and like not really knowing how to approach it without offending a spouse. So this is kind of like the third party, and you guys can kind of walk through it without having to offend one another, but really discover that this is so much deeper than just what maybe you have grown up to understand it to be. And both of you guys are fusing your lives together, and you may have a different perception. Maybe it's skewed, maybe it's perverted. I don't know. So we want to really give you guys this guide, so you guys can have those good conversations together, and not feel as awkward.
Yeah. And so what she said was so true when it comes to mediation and having these conversations that are somewhat uncomfortable. You think, we're married. Why can I have these conversations? Well, it may be something that you might want to try with your spouse that you feel uncomfortable bringing up. Or you feel like especially if you're a female, that if you aren't experiencing pleasure and you bring that up to your spouse, that somehow that could chip away at his manhood or make him feel bad in some way. But you're able to have these conversations by going through this book. And when something comes to the forefront of what you're reading, you could say, what do you think about that, honey? and let them talk and then say, well, this is what I think, and have those honest conversations about your sex life together, and how you can just engage one another on a spiritual level, a soulish level, on a physical level, in a greater capacity. So it's not just you getting something out of sex or them getting something out of it, but it's a mutual satisfaction that you share together. This is such a powerful book, and it's such a cool size. I wanted to make it small enough where it's discreet. You can put it in your bag. You can put it in your nightstand. And so it's a full book. It's not something we've skimped out on, but it is packed full of really powerful information that you want to get. moremostforever.com. And we're going to be talking about this more over the next couple of weeks as we kind of dig into each one of these categories. Like she said, S is for satisfaction. P is for procreation, partnership, and prophetic activation. I is for intimacy. C is for comfort. Y is for yielding and yearning. And that's like a full a prism of study when it comes to sex and how God designed it from the book of Genesis all the way through. And yes, the Bible talks about sex, and it talks about sex a lot. There's an entire book dedicated to outlining this love affair between this man and woman. It's the book of Song of Solomon. And it's not just about sex, it's about the totality of a relationship that culminates in good sex. And so you see this not so perfect relationship. Yes, they're passionate about pursuing one another, but they also experience challenges in their family, and they want to run away from those challenges and withhold themselves. And then there's a coming back together again. And so we talk about that in the book. There's so much information that we're going to be unfolding over the next couple of weeks. So you want to make sure, if you're not already, subscribed to our podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube, just look us up, Needed Conversations, on Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you listen to podcasts, and spread the word. Share this with someone that you know who might need enrichment in their marriage. You know, we came across a lot of couples the last couple of weekends who were with their kids who were getting married. And we said, hey, our ministry is for you too. Every marriage needs a tune-up. Just like your car gets an oil change after a certain number of miles, you need to get your marriage tuned up. You need to change out the oil, and you need to reinvest in your relationship. If not, you're going to be driving around with a bubble gum and shoestring type of relationship, and you're going to be rolling around on two wheels, half flat, with your car putt-putting across the street. You consider your marriage something that you have to invest in every season. It doesn't matter if you've been married 1 year or you've been married 30. It takes an investment every single year.
And just because you've been married for a long time or have been in the relationship means that you've actually had a good relationship. A lot of people struggle through the years, and it's not until maybe they hit like later on in life that they realize or learn to submit to one another or learn to love one another. Or they feel like marriage is a burden or a relationship is a burden, but they're sticking together because they've been together for such a long time. So it's so important to do it in such a way where it doesn't feel like a burden, because it is definitely a blessing from the Lord. But there's definitely steps to achieving the satisfaction, not only, you know, in the physical realm, but also emotionally and spiritually, where you will feel fulfilled within yourself. Because again, like we've talked before, that your spouse is not responsible for your happiness or your fulfillment. Like, you should be satisfied with Christ. And this is why it's so centered on, your faith with Christ, because that He is the one who is your source. He is the one who will fulfill the desires of your heart. And so when both individuals coming together, whole individuals coming together, you're going to have a powerful time.
That's right. And so if you haven't gotten this book, again, go to moremostforever.com. You can get a physical copy. We'll send you the ebook, or if you just want the ebook, you can download that as well. So, but why not get the physical copy? Makes it so much easier to sit in bed and, Yeah, read
and
it
it's
together
only
with your
7
spouse.
chapters, although it seems like a really huge book, and it's packed of information. It really is. But it's 7 chapters, so I always say for guys that are non-readers or struggle with that, you can just break it down and maybe do 1 chapter a day or 1 chapter a week and really have an open discussion the other days, kind of pondering on what you guys have read and maybe write out some questions. That's also going to bring you guys closer just for the sheer fact that you guys are going through a book together.
Yeah. And when you say guys, men like to read too.
I know. I'm just saying. A lot of men.
Not all women like to read.
I know, but I think men, when it comes to addressing certain things, like I think women are prone to, like, I see the problem and they want to address it. Men kind of like, I think men are more in routine. Like once they're in a routine, it's harder for them to admit that there's issues. But I think once they get into it, I think they really see it and they resolve it. And I'm not saying that's everybody, but
I think
what I've seen,
the average man, it's built inside of his framework to pursue. Yeah. And that most men, once they reach or attain a goal, they move to the next. Yeah. And sometimes marriage can seem like, for a man, that goal that he's reached, right? I got the woman, I pursued her, she's mine, and we can lose that intensity in our pursuit. But we have to discipline ourselves, men, that we pursue our wives not just when the world tells us to, right? Because it's Valentine's Day. This is a very commercialized holiday. We love it because it's special to us. It was the start of our official dating relationship. But for most couples, it actually hurts if you are only showing up this one day a year to give them, a box of chocolates or something that is an afterthought. What would really make a difference is maybe this Valentine's Day, you go and buy a paper calendar, right? And you pre-plan dates every single month. I'm giving you an idea, guys. If you have not gotten your lady a Valentine's Day gift, go get a paper calendar and choose a day and write date on it every single month. And here's the other thing, live up to it so that you have at least one date every single month. And you give that to her, and I'm sure that will brighten up her heart and her mind towards you. Just anticipating that I'm going to get to spend time with him every single month, one-on-one, without kids, if you have them. And it doesn't have to be complicated. It could be a picnic with a charcuterie board in the backyard. It could be a walk in the park. You could come up with non-expensive, creative ideas. And hey, every once in a while, you need to splurge and you need to go and have a nice dinner, a getaway. So that is what we're trying to get you to understand, even when it comes to sex, is that if you don't have this continual pursuit of one another, particularly for women who need a build up to reach that climax of pleasure, your sex life is not going to be that satisfying. Right? It's going to be self-serving, but if you're pursuing one another, serving one another, when you do come together in the bedroom, when you do have sex, it is going to be that much more pleasurable. Yeah, so that's all for the podcast today. Make sure that you follow us on social media at More Most Forever. We're growing hundreds of new subscribers every single month, followers on Instagram. Why don't you be one of them and share some of our inspirational content with some of your friends? We talk about dating and marriage. So whether you're single or married, this is a great page to follow. And until next week, this is Ryan and Victoria Cole, and this has been Needed Conversations.
Thanks for joining us.